Hi, I'm Claire, and I'm a fourth-year computer science student minoring in management. I will be presenting my solutions for continuing to produce hireable critical thinkers from the Carlson School of Management as technology evolves. The main issue I'm solving is the question of how educators in the Carlson School can continue to teach critical thinking skills as the use of AI technologies expands. With AI such as ChatGPT increasingly being used in education by both educators and students, there need to be changes made to the curriculum to accommodate for this, while still giving students valuable education and practice in critical thinking. Why is this important? Nearly 70% of employers surveyed thought that critical thinking skills were one of the major indicators of success for their employees. I'm proposing two solutions to this issue, the first of which is updating required courses for the majors within the school. The question I'm asking here is how can the existing major paths be modified to add courses that have a greater emphasis on development of critical thinking skills? In a study performed at Tennessee Technological University, growth of critical thinking skills was measured across students of all levels in multiple different courses. It was found that while some courses greatly improved the students' measured critical thinking skill, others had little to no effect. There are currently around 100 courses in the University of Minnesota's course catalog that have an emphasis on critical thinking skills. While there are currently some courses for majors in the Carlson School that have an emphasis on enhancing critical thinking skills, such as powerful problem solving, many others, such as accounting or economics, are focused more on knowledge rather than on applications. With so many courses emphasizing critical thinking skills in the school's catalog, a tag can be added to these courses with a requirement added for students to take a specified number of them. Tagging these courses, as you can see in the picture above, will allow students to track their progress towards completing the course requirements, and each major can be evaluated for how many additional courses need to be taken for this requirement. This solution can be implemented relatively quickly, hopefully matching the pace at which other courses are adopting use of AI technologies. The first step to implementing this solution would be to evaluate the courses that are offered school-wide to determine which ones would be a good fit for Carlson students to take as critical thinking classes. This could take approximately 3 months to complete auditing the course material and goals of all 100 courses, some of which could likely be eliminated early on because of level or material. Then, each major would be evaluated to determine how many of the existing courses can fulfill the requirement and how many additional ones that students would have to take. After that, all of the documentation for each of the majors would be updated to include the new requirements, as well as adding the tags to the approved courses. These first three steps would have only one cost, the cost of the university employees or the external course auditors for their efforts evaluating the courses and making the required changes. Once all of these changes have been made, the final ongoing step is to deploy the new requirements and enforce students' completion of them. The cost for this is for the professors to teach the additional sections of these courses, but it is a relatively cost-effective solution as the course material has already been prepared and the students switching to these courses will be switching out of other ones, so costs can potentially be cut elsewhere. One risk associated with this solution is that after audits are complete, it could be determined that there are not enough courses currently offered at the school that would effectively fulfill this critical thinking requirement. The solution to this would be to adapt the courses that are already in Carlson to work across majors for the requirement, which could be very costly in terms of time and finances. A second risk is that the course and major audits could take longer than predicted, so either more people could take on the project to speed it up, or the adoption of this solution would be pushed back until it was complete. This would be a more likely problem to have, but the impacts are not large. The second solution I'm proposing is updating how a select number of the current required courses are taught to promote more development of critical thinking skills. The problem I am addressing here is the question of how existing courses can be modified in order to emphasize the development of critical thinking skills. It has been proven through multiple studies that discussion-based learning, as opposed to lecture-based learning, not only helps students retain information for longer, but it also improves critical thinking skills. Learning through collaboration allows students to talk to each other and connect about the material, inspiring conversations about the content and compelling students to think critically about what they are learning, rather than just copying down what they see on the screen. There are many existing courses in the university that are split into lecture and discussion sections, which gives students more opportunities to interact with each other and with the course material. Modifying more Carlson courses to be taught with an active learning format will spread the benefits of active learning to more subjects, which will both help students remember the material that they are learning better, as well as helping them develop critical thinking skills. The exact format of the class would be up to the professor, as they will have to modify the class accordingly, but some possibilities would be a flipped classroom where the students prepare for class by watching lectures or learning the material ahead of time, or simply by adding an additional meeting to the class in the form of a discussion section. This solution requires a bit more work on the part of the professors, but could also be adopted relatively quickly. The first step would be to simply identify which courses would benefit from being taught in an active learning environment. Some things to consider during this step are the inclusion of technology and AI in the teaching of the class, as well as if the applications of the material can be worked through in a discussion-based environment. The cost of this step would be the employees who are making these decisions. The next step would be for the course instructors to modify their course to follow the new format, and this step would take them more time, likely would be done throughout the summer so that they are not teaching simultaneously. This incurs the cost of the professors working throughout the summer. The next step is to update scheduling to include discussion sections and update course catalogs with these changes. The final step, which is an ongoing step, will be to deploy these changes and monitor the success to see what adjustments would be needed in the future. The cost associated with this step would be the additional teaching assistants needed to run these additional course meetings. One risk of this solution would be pushback from instructors. There will be quite a bit of additional work required from them to modify the course structure for the active learning format, so some may not have the time to do so with their other responsibilities. If this were to happen, another faculty member could be given the responsibility to modify the course, or more staff could be hired to teach the course. It is fairly probable that some of the professors would not be able to modify their own course, which would impact both the timeline and the cost. Another risk is that with all of the additional course sections being added, there is the potential for a space issue, as there will be more classes needing more space. This issue could be resolved by having a wider variety of class meeting times available, and could be resolved hopefully without too much trouble. As both recommended solutions share a goal of improving critical thinking skills in students, results can be measured for both in the same way. The critical thinking assessment test can be used to evaluate performance in students. There is no current data available about the critical thinking skills of students graduating from the Carlson School of Management, so the data could be taken from a set of students each year and compared to check for consistency, or it can be compared to available statistics online. Another statistic to monitor is how student scores are improving throughout their years in the school to make sure their levels are improving. One final key performance indicator is the rate of students hired. For instance, in 2022, around 97% of Carlson graduates were hired within 90 days of graduation. So within some margin, these rates can be monitored for consistency. In conclusion, as the world of technology changes around us, education needs to adapt in response. More and more students and instructors are integrating AI technology into their classes, and in response, the curriculum needs to place more emphasis on maintaining critical thinking education. Two possibilities being through modified requirements and course formats as I described here. Thank you.